Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janvalabha Girivaradhari
Jaya
Jai Gopi
Govinda
Janvalabha Girivaradhari
Hari
Yashodanandana Brajjana Ranjana
Yashodanandana
Brajjana Ranjana
Ranjana
Yamuna Tira Vanachari
Yamuna
Tira Vanachari
Tira
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari
Jaya Radha
Madhava Kunja Bihari
Hari
Gopi Janvalabha Girivaradhari
Jaya
Gopi
Gopi
Janvalabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Brajjana Ranjana
Yashodanandana Brajjana
Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari
Yamuna Tira
Vanachari
Vanachari
Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare
Hare Krishna
Krishna
Hare
Hare Krishna
Krishna Krishna
Krishna
Krishna Hare Hare
Hare
Hare Rama Hare
Hare
Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna Hare
Hare
Krishna Krishna
Krishna
Krishna
Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare
Hare
Rama
Rama Rama
Rama
Rama
Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Hare
Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Hare
Hare
Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Nittai Gaura Haribo
Haribo
Haribo Haribo Nittai Gaura Haribo Nittai Gaura
Nitai Gaura Haribo Haribo
Haribo Nittai Gaura
Haribo
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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jaya
Jai
Jaya
Jai
Prabhupada
Prabhupada Prabhupada
Prabhupada Prabhupada, Jai Jaya Prabhupada, Jai Jaya Gurudev, 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 Jai Jaya Gurudev,
Jai
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 Jaya Gurudev,
Guru
Gurudev,
Guru
Gurudev, Jai Jaya Gurudev. Go to Premanande.
Hari
Hari Bol.
Bol.
All glories to Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam ki jai.
Jai
All glories to Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate
Bhagavate
Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo
Namo
Bhagavate
Bhagavate
Vasudevaya.
Vasudevaya.
Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim
Satim
Vyasam
Vyasam Tato
Jayam Udiraye
Nashprayeshu
Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu
Abhadreshu Nityam
Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Tamashloke Bhaktir Bhavati
Bhagavati.
Naishtiki. Hare Krishna. Today we're reading from Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam and Canto 4, which is titled The Creation of the Fourth Order, Chapter 31. Narada instructs the Prachetas. We're getting to the end of this canto, by the way. But today we're covering two verses, 25 and 26. Let me recite 25 on my own and then we'll do 26 together.
Hare Krishna, Mataji, we did this yesterday, 25 and 26.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, I beg your pardon. Where am I? Hold on.
It's okay, Mataji. We can hear about them
Oh,
again.
no. Wonder why I must have prepped for the wrong classes. Oh, I beg your pardon. Just a minute. Let me pull up some notes. Hold on. First things first. Oh. It was me. I've got it wrong. We're not singing 25 and 26. We're singing 27 and 28. Thank you, Bhavamaya Mataji. So let's do that. Let me find the thingy to share with you all. Hold on. I just had it set to the wrong day. Sorry. So we're doing 27 and 28 today. Let me start by reciting 27 on my own, and then please join me for verse 28. Yo naradaratma vidyam adhigamya punamahim bhuktva vibhajya putrebhya asvaram samagat param. Yaha, one who, Naradat, from the great sage Narada, Atma Vidyam, spiritual knowledge, Adhigamya, after learning, Punaha, again, Mahim, the earth, Bhuktva, after enjoying, Vibhajya, after dividing, Putrebhya, unto his sons, Ais Varam, transcendental, Samagat, achieved, Padam, position. Translation. And by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation. Please hear. Although Maharaj Priyavrata received instructions from the great sage Narada, he still engaged in ruling the earth. After fully enjoying material possessions, he divided his property among his sons. He then attained a position by which he could return home, back to Godhead. text 28 we can recite together. Imam tu kosara vino parav nitam
Imam tu koshar vinopavarta
jata nisam yajita varasat katam
Nishamya jitavad satkatham
pravradha bhavo srukalu kulo munir
Pravriddha bhavo Shrukala kulamune
dadhara murna charanam hida harir
Dadhar Murna
Hare.
imam tu kosara vino pavarnitam
Kosha
Vina
Vartam
jata nisam yatita varasat katam
Shatta
Datta Nishamya Ajitavad Satkatham
pravradhidha pavo srukala kulo munir
Pravruddha
Pravriddha bhavo Shrukala akulamune
dadhara murna charanam hida harir
Dadhar Murna Charanam Hridahare
imam tu kosara vino pavarnitam
Ma
Imam tu
Koshar
kausara
Vinopavarnita
vinopavarnitam
Tata nisam yachita varasat katam
Datta
tatta
Nishamya
niyam
Jitavad
shajitavada
Satkatham
satkatam
pravrita pavo srukala kulum munir
Pravruddha
Pravriddha
pravriddha
bhavo
bhavo
Shukala
shrukala kulo
kulamune
muner
dadhara murna charanam hrita harir
Dadha
Dadhar
dadara
Murna
mudna
Charanam
charanam
Hridahare
hridaharehe imam tu kausara vinopavarnitam
Ima
Imam tu Koshar Vinopavarnita
Vanitam
Chatta nishamya jitavada satkatam
Shatada
Chatta Nishamya Jitavad Satkatham
Satkatam
pravrudha bhavo shrukala kulo muner
Pravruddha
Pravriddha bhavo Shukala kulomune
Munir
dadara murdna charanam hridah harehe
Dadha
Dadhar Mudra Charanam Hridahare
Imam tu Kaushara Vinopavarnitam
Imam tu
imam tu
Koshar
kaushara
Vinopavarnitam
vinopavarnitam
Nishamya Jitavad Satkhatham
Datta
Chatta
Nishamya
nishamya
Jitavad
jitavada
Satkatham
satkatam
Satkatham
Pravruddha Bhavo Shukla Kulo Muner
Pravriddha
Pravriddha bhavo
bhavo
shrukala
Shukala
kulo muner
kulomune
Dadhar Murdna Charanam Hridahare
Tadara
Dadhar Murna
murdna
Charanam
charanam
Hridahare
hridaharehe
Imam tu Koshar Vinopavarnitam
Imam tu
Imam tu
kosara
kaushara
vino pavarnitam
vinopavarnitam
Chatta Nishamya Jitvad Satkatham
Chashta
Tatta
nisam
niyamya jitavada
varasat
satkatam
Pravriddha Bhavo Ashukala Kulomuner
Prabirudha
Pravriddha
bhavo
bhavo
shrukala
shrukala
kulo muner
kulo
Dadhar Mudna Charanam Hridahare
Tadara
Dadhar
murdna
mudna
charanam
charanam
hridaharehe.
Thank you, everyone. We'll move to word for word. Imam,
Imam
Imam,
all this
all this.
all this.
Tu.
Tu.
Then.
Then
Ko Sharavina
Kausharavina
Kausaravina
by Maitreya.
by Maitreya.
Maitreya
Upavat Nitam.
Upavarnitam.
Described.
Described.
Chata
Shata.
Sapta
Vidura.
Vidura
Nisamya.
Nishamya.
Shamya.
After hearing.
After hearing.
After hearing
Ajita Vada.
Ajitavad.
Javad,
Glorification of the Supreme Lord.
Glorification of the
glorification
Supreme
of the
Lord.
Supreme Lord,
Sat Katam.
Tatkatham.
Satkatham,
Transcendental message.
Transcendental
transcendental
message.
message,
Pravridha.
Pravritha.
Enhanced.
Enhanced.
enhanced,
Bhavaha.
Bhava.
Ecstasies.
Ecstasy.
ecstasy,
Ashru.
Ashru.
Ashru
Of tears.
Of
of
tears.
tears,
Kala.
Kala.
By particles.
By particles.
particles,
Akulaha.
Akula.
Akulaha,
Overwhelmed.
Overwhelmed.
overwhelmed,
Munehi.
Mune.
Munehe,
Of the great sage.
Of the great
the great
sage.
sage,
Dadhara.
Dadhar.
Adhara,
Captured.
Captured.
captured,
Murna.
Murthanam.
Murtana,
By the head.
By the head.
Charanam.
Charanam.
The lotus feet.
The lotus
lotus
feet.
feet,
Hrida.
Rida.
By the heart.
By the heart.
by the heart,
Harir.
Hare.
Hare
Of the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Of the
of
Supreme
the
Personality
Supreme
of
Personality
Godhead.
of Godhead.
Translation. Please repeat. My dear King, in this way,
My dear
My
King,
dear King,
in this way,
this way,
after hearing the transcendental messages
after hearing the
after hearing the
transcendental
transcendental
messages
messages
of the Supreme Personality of Godhead
of the
of the
Supreme
Supreme
Personality of
Personality of
Godhead
Godhead
and his devotees from the
and his
great sage
devotees
his
Maitreya,
devotees
from the great
from the
sage Maitreya,
from the
from
great
the
sage
great
Maitreya.
sage Maitreya,
Vidura was overwhelmed with ecstasy,
Vidura was
was
overwhelmed with
overwhelmed with
ecstasy,
ecstasy,
with tears in his eyes.
with
with
tears in his
tears in his
eyes.
eyes.
He immediately fell down at the lotus feet of his guru,
He immediately fell
He
down at the
at
lotus of his guru,
his spiritual master.
his spiritual
spiritual
master.
master.
He then fixed the Supreme Personality of Godhead
He then fixed the
Then
Supreme
fixed the
Personality of
Supreme Personality of
Godhead
Godhead
within the core of his heart.
within the
within the
core of
core
his
of his
heart.
heart.
Purport, please listen. This is a sign of associating with great devotees. A devotee takes instructions from a liberated soul and is thus overwhelmed by ecstasy from transcendental pleasure, as stated by Prahlad Maharaj. Naisam matis tavaruru kraman grihid man grihim sprisati anata bhagamo yad ataha mahiyasam paro rajo abhikshikam niskinjananam navrinata yavat. Bhagavatam 7.5.32. One cannot become a perfect devotee of the Lord without having touched the lotus feet of a great devotee. One who has nothing to do with this material world is called Nishkinchana. The process of self-realization and the path home back to Godhead means surrendering to the bona fide spiritual master and taking the dust of the lotus feet on one's head. Thus one advances on the path of transcendental realization. Vidura had this relationship with Maitreya and he attained the results. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jananana Salakaya Chakshulun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasaya Bhutale. Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve. Gauravani Pracharine. Nivisesha Shunyavadi. Paschyata Desatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda. Shri Advaita Gadadha. Shri Vasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So welcome everyone to class today. Let me pull up some notes. I've got a shocking memory, so I always refer to notes. I'm not being impersonal. This is the only way I think I can give class. So welcome everyone to class today, and thank you all for your attendance. I'm very grateful for this opportunity to glorify Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Before we begin, please may I ask for your blessings and also for your forgiveness for any mistakes or offenses that I may make. So we'll begin by reading those two translations again from verse 27. Although Maharaj Priyavrata received instructions from the great sage Narada, he still engaged in ruling the earth. After fully enjoying material possessions, he divided his property among his sons. He then attained a position by which he could return home, back to Godhead. And verse 28, my dear king, in this way, after hearing the transcendental messages of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and his devotees from that great sage Maitreya, Vidura was overwhelmed with ecstasy. With tears in his eyes, he immediately fell down at the lotus feet of his guru, his spiritual master. He then fixed the Supreme Personality of Godhead within the core of his heart. So here we see these very great, extremely great and elevated devotees speaking on Krishna Katha, sharing the glorious pastimes of Lord Sri Krishna, and truly relishing all of these activities, all of the Lord's beautiful, wondrous lessons that are contained within Sastra. Firstly, we see that King Priyavrata, who was he had so nicely received instructions, and in fact the transcendental truth, from the great sage Naradaji. And when it was time, he renounced his possessions and kingdom, and then he was able to ready himself, prepare himself to return to the kingdom of God. And then we see that in the retelling of this story by the great sage Maitreya, the Lord's devotee Vidura became covered in ecstatic symptoms, and he fell on the ground, and he fell at the feet of his Gurudev, of his spiritual master. Such a lovely, a deeply loving exchange, actually, between Guru and disciple. So this can lead us to think then, how powerful and how transformative this kind of association really is. And in fact, that's the topic for today's class. It's this idea that comes from this exchange that we're seeing now, that we're witness to. This exchange of the disciple falling at the feet of his guru, his merciful guru. This leads one to think, how does one associate with such a pure devotee? How do I get into close proximity with such a person? And in fact, how does this association with such a pure devotee make one a pure devotee too? So when thinking about this topic, and this lesson that we are learning, I jumped on the internet and I came across a rather mundane vlog, but it posed an interesting question. So I thought I'd share it and then share some sastra as well. This vlog that I found on a page, I think it was called Motivate Yourself. And it was titled, You Become Just Like the Person You Associate With. And this was written by a vlogger named Kimi Sahirali back in 2023. She writes, there is a saying, we are who we hang out with, or we become who we associate with. Is there truth in that? When we associate ourselves with positive people, we start thinking positively. We learn to appreciate what we have, and we stay encouraged. And conversely, you will carry negative vibes and energy around other people if you're always around negative people. You will start complaining and entertaining insignificant conversations with people. But we all have a choice. We can choose who we want to associate with. Strong-minded people know what they want, and they know what is good for their spirits. Sound advice is to keep your mind occupied with things that will benefit your life in a positive way. We meet people with different characters and backgrounds. We work with people with different perspectives and mindsets. Everyone carries their own aura or energy that is either negative or positive, and everyone has their own vibe around people. Sometimes we don't even want to be around certain people, but we have to work with our colleagues, even if we can't quite connect nicely. Perhaps we get annoyed that someone always needs validation or some extra recognition. We must be open to changes and challenges in our relationships. This serves as a significant part of our personal growth. Different types of people teach us something in some way, and over time we can appreciate and acknowledge this. We must be open to changes and challenges in our relationships. This serves as a significant part of our personal growth. Different types of people, teach us this in different ways, and we must learn to appreciate it. The writer, she says, I was once in a place where I had no choice but to live with women who came from different backgrounds and had strong personalities. It was not easy for me. I had to adjust to the circumstances and make it work for myself. I had to shift my mindset to a positive perspective. On some occasions, I had to keep a positive attitude, otherwise I would have been depressed in that environment. I learned from this experience, and it has had a positive impact on my life today because I can have a conversation with all types of people, but to a certain degree. And at the same time, I'm cautious about saying and doing certain things in front of certain people. There are the strangest types of people we meet in this life. However, they have a purpose in our life as well. My goodness. Yes, Kimi Seharali from this meaningless vlog. Yes, they do. She's onto something. Now, a Krishna conscious quote in response to this type of vlog would be as follows. The association of a pure devotee will certainly deliver one from the maya of this world, but that association will catch fire only if one is willing to accept what the pure devotee is giving. Otherwise, success is not possible. In the bygone ages, as well as in recent history, many pure souls descended to earth to spread the message of Krishna, either directly or indirectly. At all times, even though the earth benefited from their saintly association, souls continued to be an illusion because they were not interested. The association and mercy of a pure devotee are the only way to achieve Krishna. But to benefit, we have to voluntarily submit our false ego and follow the pure devotee's instructions. Even if we cannot always be in the physical presence of Krishna's pure devotees, by always remembering them and carefully following their divine instructions, we can be packed up tightly in their association and thus solidly connected with Lord Krishna and our eternal Lord. He is our eternal Lord and Master. We can always have the association of a pure soul, such as Srila Prabhupada, in the form of his instructions, which he mercifully gave us. If we are sincere, serious, and without ulterior motive, then a moment's association is all we need to change the course of our temporary material life. In the association of those who have made the supremely desirable Lord their supreme desire, the Lord becomes our supreme desire and takes us to the supreme destination. So, a casual glance at the internet will give some kind of answer, hey? How does association with a pure devotee make a pure devotee? Well, some might think through osmosis, simply by being in close proximity. Like our vlogger has mentioned, you become just like the person you associate with. Well done. But we can go further than that. And I'll give you a hint as I read the next reading, titled Association of Pure Devotees, an Essential Subject. And this is a post found on our Vanipedia, the essence of Vedic knowledge website. The best thing is not to seek solitude in the beginning, but to remain in the mindset of pure devotees, so that even there is attack of Maya, their association will protect us. Transcendental achievement is so powerful that if such attachment is seen manifested even in some common man by the association of a pure devotee, the mercy of Krishna, and the rendering of devotional service, it can bring one to the perfectional stage. All these help one to give up the association of the non-devotees and all the material opulence awarded by the external energy, Maya. Srila Prabhupada's books, his lectures, conversations, and letters offer a comprehensive presentation of this essential subject. As seen in the Vani quotes, Association of Pure Devotees category. An introduction from his books is given below in the following 10 quotes. I'm going to read these quotes. These are quotes from Srila Prabhupada's books. A pure devotee considers a moment's association with another pure devotee to be far superior to residing in a heavenly planet or merging in the Brahman effulgence. The topmost benediction for those who are living in this material world and are subjected to the repetition of birth and death, transmigration, is association with pure devotees. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam 4.30.34. As the river flows on till she reaches the sea, similarly, pure devotional service flows by the association of pure devotees till it reaches the ultimate goal, namely transcendental love of God. Such a flow, excuse me, such a flow of devotional service cannot stop. Chai. On the contrary, it increases more and more without limitation. The flow of devotional service is so potent that any onlooker also becomes liberated from the influence of the modes of passion and ignorance. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam 1.5.28. The sufferings of the conditioned soul are superficial and have no intrinsic value, like the cutting off of one's head in a dream. Yet although this statement is theoretically very true, it is very difficult for the common man or the neophyte on the transcendental path to realize practically. However, by serving the feet of the great transcendentalists like Maitreya Muni, and by constantly associating with them, one is enabled to give up the false idea that the soul suffers from material pangs. That's in Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam 3.7.18. Yogis are generally not very much interested in devotional service. They want to regulate the breathing process. This is simply a bodily concern. Here, Dhruva Maharaj plainly says that a devotee has no more bodily interest. He knows that he is not the body. From the very beginning, therefore, without wasting time in bodily exercises, a devotee searches out a pure devotee, and simply by his association becomes more advanced in spiritual consciousness than any yogi. Because a devotee knows that he is not the body, he is never affected by bodily happiness or distress. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam 4.9.12. While the bhakti creeper is growing, the devotee must protect it by fencing it all around. The neophyte devotee must be protected by being surrounded by pure devotees. In this way, he will not give the maddened elephant a chance to uproot his bhakti creeper. When one associates with non-devotees, the maddened elephant is set loose. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has said, Asatsanga Tyaga, E Vaishnava Achara. Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya 22.87. The first business of a Vaishnava is to give up the company of non-devotees. A so-called mature devotee, however, commits a great offense by giving up the company of pure devotees. Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila 19.157. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the great preacher of the principles of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, has stressed the importance of association with sadhus, pure devotees of the Lord. He said that even by a moment's association with a pure devotee, one can achieve all perfection. We are not ashamed to admit that this fact was experienced in our practical life. Were we not favored by his divine grace, Srimad Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj, by our first meeting for a few minutes only, it would have been impossible for us to accept this mighty task of describing Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam in English. That's from Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam 1.13.29. The self-realized devotee is he who surrenders unto the Lord fully and who does not have attachment for material prosperity. Material prosperity and sense enjoyment and their advancement are all activities of ignorance in human society. Peace and friendship are impossible for a society detached from the association of God and his devotees. It is imperative, therefore, that one sincerely seek the association of pure devotees and hear them patiently and submissively from any position of life. That's within Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, the introduction. By the association of pure devotees, attachment for Krishna can be aroused. But if one commits offenses at the lotus feet of a devotee one's shadow attachment or para attachment can be extinguished. This extinguishing is like the waning of the full moon, which gradually decreases and at last becomes dark. One should therefore be very careful while associating with pure devotees to guard against committing an offense at their lotus feet. That's from Nectar of Devotion, chapter 18. One can be gradually elevated to the standard of real knowledge or Krishna consciousness by practicing austerity and celibacy, brahmacharya, by controlling the mind, by controlling the senses, by giving up one's possessions in charity, by being avowedly truthful, by keeping clean, and by practicing yoga asanas. However, if one is fortunate enough to get the association of a pure devotee, he can easily surpass all these practices for controlling the mind by the mystic yoga process, simply by following the regulative principles of Krishna consciousness. That's within the Nectar of Devotion, chapter 1. A pure devotee becomes attached to Krishna by hearing the Lord's glories. The Lord's glories and the Lord himself are identical. One has to be qualified to understand this absolute truth. Therefore, one should be given a chance to associate with a pure devotee. Our Krishna consciousness movement is meant for this purpose. We want to create pure devotees so that other people will benefit by their association. In this way, the number of pure devotees increases. Professional preachers cannot create pure devotees. Wow. Professional preachers cannot create pure devotees. That's from Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila 24.98. And that is quite the powerful statement, that last quote. Professional preachers cannot make pure devotees. That will always remain in the domain of the Vaishnavas, or the pure devotees only. And that's such a lovely synopsis of readings, actually, culminating in these quotes, these little sound bites. But not to disrespect them, but if we can listen to these quotes through devotional ears, perhaps we'll receive the full the message, the full intention behind such quotes. And of course, a quick reply or answer here too at this point may be to a question: how can I get this mercy from a pure devotee? These pure devotees of the Lord that are everywhere, if I have the eyes to see them and to hear from them, pure devotees that are obvious to us are Srila Prabhupada. They should be obvious to us. Are our acharyas. Those are the clear and obvious pure devotees that all of us are following. But there are devotees in our lives, especially in the form of Guru Maharaj, Guru Dev. Those are the pure devotees that we can have direct association with right now. So how can I get some of this mercy from these pure devotees of the Lord? Well, 1, by humbly rendering menial service to these Vaishnavas out of attachment to them. 2, attentively hearing Krishna Katha from these Vaishnavas and accepting good instructions from them. 3, following the instructions given by these gurus, by these Vaishnavas in our lives. Even Lord Chaitanya would render menial service to Advaita Acharya and others who are elder to him. So there it is. But moving on, we have a little bit more to get through. In fact, I have like another 3 or 4 readings to share, but I won't. I'll read as much as I can within the time afforded. From Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya 24.98. Satsangam mukta dushango hatum not sahate buddha kritya manam yaso yasya sakrit akanya rochanam. Translation: the intelligent who have understood the Supreme Lord in the association of pure devotees and have become free from bad materialistic association can never avoid hearing the glories of the Lord, even though they have heard them only once. Purport: this is a verse from Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam 1.10.11. All the members of the Kuru dynasty offered respects when Krishna was leaving Hastinapur after the battle of Kurukshetra. Krishna was going to his own kingdom, and all the members of the Kuru dynasty were overwhelmed by his departure. This verse was spoken in that connection by Sutta Goswami. A pure devotee becomes attached to Krishna by hearing the Lord's glories. The Lord's glories and the Lord himself are identical. One has to be qualified to understand this absolute truth. Therefore, one should be given a chance to associate with a pure devotee. Our Krishna consciousness movement is meant for this purpose. We want to create pure devotees so that other people will benefit by their association. In this way, the number of pure devotees increases. Professional preachers cannot create pure devotees. There are many professional preachers of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam who read this work to earn their livelihood. However, they cannot convert materialistic people to devotional service. Only a pure devotee can convert others to pure devotional service. It is therefore important for all the preachers in our Krishna consciousness movement to first become pure devotees and follow the regulative principles, refraining from illicit sex, meat eating, gambling, and intoxication. They should regularly chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra on their beads, follow the devotional process, rise early in the morning, attend Mangalati, and recite Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam and the Bhagavad Gita regularly. In this way, one can become purified and free from all material contamination. Sarvobadi vinirmuktam tatpara vena nirmalam rishikena rishikesha sevanam bhaktiruchyate. Bhakti, or devotional service, means engaging all one's senses in the service of the Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Master of all the senses. When the spirit soul renders service unto the Supreme, there are two side effects. One is freed from material designations, and one's senses are purified simply by being employed in the service of the Lord. That's from Narada Pancharatra. To make a show of devotional service will not help one. One must be a pure devotee, following the devotional process. Then one can convert others to devotional service. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu practiced devotional service and preached Apani Achari, Bhakti Karila Pachara. If a preacher behaves properly in devotional service, he will be able to convert others. Otherwise, his preaching will have no effect. Very nice. So really, what are we saying here? What is the lesson again? Let's get back to that lesson. How does association with a pure devotee make one a devotee? Quick answer: osmosis, close association, being around them, hearing from them, reading from them, associating with those that also follow them or are inclined to their same beliefs. So for us, practically speaking, very easily, very quickly, this example of a pure devotee obviously is Srila Prabhupada. And Lord Chaitanya, he began this movement from more than being a pure devotee. But he came in the mood of a pure devotee, so to teach this Krishna consciousness. And then Srila Prabhupada, in turn, brought it here for us. And we can take as simply these teachings as we like. We can. We can just chant nicely, follow the 4 eggs, live a simple life, live quietly. Why not? And have some assurance, perhaps, that we get to go back home, back to Godhead. We're being good devotees, right? Or we can get a little bit deeper, just a little, just the tiniest bit deeper with these words. Oh, am I to become the preacher? Oh, am I to try to be a devotee, a sincere devotee? Oh, is that my responsibility too? Okay, yes, it is. Okay. So I'm to preach? Okay. I'll accept that. But I'm not going to do it on my own, off my own back. Who do I do it with? I do it with Guru. I do it with Guru, Sadhu, Sastra. So I need the sadhus around to see their practical example. I need the Guru in my life because they are the lived example of a pure devotee as far as I'm concerned. And I need the real pure devotee, Srila Prabhupada himself, via his teachings, via his devotees. And that's how I make spiritual progress. That's how I make this journey in Krishna consciousness count. I have choices, I have options, I can be quiet, I can live quietly. Please my Guru, go back to Godhead, not disturb anybody. Or I can try and find some courage, some oomph to go and preach, to try and replicate what I see my Guru doing. That's what's being asked. So how does association with a pure devotee make one a devotee? By doing what we're doing now. By engaging in Srila Prabhupada's program of daily sadhana bhakti, of attending class, chanting rounds, cooking prasadam at home for our deities or our murtis or our pictures of Krishna. That's how we start. And then we get inspired. We get inspired from snippets, interactions with the other sadhus or the other aspiring sadhus in our congregation, in our community. So therefore, Krishna consciousness cannot be online fully. You have to go to a temple. You have to be in the room with the devotees, hopefully chanting alongside them. You have to take some of these practices into your own personal life, into your own personal space. Make your home a temple, yes, but not many devotees are here in this current temple. So I have to go to the temple to be with the devotees, to see Sri Sri Gaunitai, to see the deities. Then I know I'm doing something right. But particularly for our little group, this coming together, this sharing of Sastra, this learning whatever little bit we know as a service, this is a start. And then we hope that from this, we all get inspired and we all awake the little preacher within ourselves. And we all want to do it properly. So we want to not only save ourselves from Maya and for the endless cycle of repeated birth and death. So in order to do this, yes, we can be quiet or we can get a little courageous. But do so carefully. Don't go out into the big wide world talking speculation and representing who knows who. Be clear on your path. I think I've gone down a bit of a tangent there, sorry. So again, how does association with a pure devotee make one a devotee? It's through what we're doing now. It's through the practice of bhakti yoga as set out by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, as set out by Srila Prabhupada, as set out by our own individual gurus. It is the practice of our sadhana bhakti. It is the service to Guru, service to the lotus feet of Guru Maharaj, by the way. That's how we also learn to take on some of these qualities of these Vaishnavas too. And I've kind of kerfuffled everything in my head right now, so I'm going to end there. Thank you everyone for attending class. I hope it has been of benefit in some way, shape or form. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Thank you very much for your very nice class, emphasizing on the need of having the association of pure devotees. Because we are in our conditioned life, our association with them, especially as you rightly emphasized on physical direct association, makes a lot of difference. Like, for example, for Srila Prabhupada, he met his Guru Maharaj less than 10 times. That's all he had. After that, he carried that instruction in his heart and he was able to do. So those who are on a higher platform, they can carry that physical meeting for eons. But for us, it doesn't work. We need to be constantly replenished with that direct association. And therefore, whenever we get a chance, we should take that opportunity. And the least that we can do, as you said, is just hear from them and do it. But if we get a chance to render some service, something, it may be inconsequential, but even rendering a little service can make such a big impact in our lives. Thank you very much, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Absolutely right. 100%. Haribol.
Hare Krishna, Jamuna.
Haribol, Mataji.
Yes, such an awesome class. It was it's so nice. I didn't really talk anything. I didn't even recite the verse today. I had been busy with my grandson to send him to school because Prasanna had to go to the temple to attend to something. So anyway, the thing is that this class and association, as Prabhu has also mentioned, it is such an important thing. You know, most of us who have our spiritual masters, and when you had their association and you always cherish them, even your spiritual master is not in this planet, but his instructions are always with us. Sometimes we tend to, forget that. We say, oh, I don't have association, my spiritual master is not in this planet. But the spiritual master is always with that. And spiritual master says that I am there as long as you follow my instructions, When spiritual master is here, if we can associate, render some service, then it's very good. But when the spiritual master is not there, his important instructions are actually we are associating with. Similarly, like Srila Prabhupada, you mentioned, also that Srila Prabhupada has left all his instructions in the form of his Bhagavatam translations, Śrīmad-Bhāgavad Chaitanya Charitamrita, everything he has written so beautiful purports. So, but at the end of the day, important thing is, we have to follow the instructions. And when we follow the instruction, eventually, maybe one day we'll be able to get Krishna Prema. I don't know whether in this life or myself, but I think for me, the goal is to follow instructions of spiritual master, chant my rounds attentively, follow 4 regulative principles, have association of devotees, read and hear Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, and that's the important thing we have to do, and hoping that one day we can become a pure devotee. Thank you very much again. Wonderful class. Hare Krishna. Hare
Thank you,
Krishna.
Mataji. Thank you very much. So yes, thank you everyone for your attendance and appreciating the devotees who can't come into the temple personally. Thank you for attending online. We really appreciate your association via this forum. Okay, so with that, all glories to Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam ki
Ki
jai.
jai.
All glories to Srila Prabhupada ki
Ki
jai.
Jai.
Hari Hari Bol.
Hare
Har Jai
Krishna.
Jamuna Devi Das ki jai.
Jai.
Hari Bol.
Thank you,
Hari Bol.
Mataji.
Thank you.